Inside a tiled service garage, a man walks backward pulling an empty dolly, entirely unaware of the deep, open inspection pit waiting directly behind him. Walking backward turns unguarded floor openings into hidden hazards. A sudden missing step immediately disrupts human balance. High on a demolition roof, repeated sledgehammer strikes fracture the same concrete surface, providing support until the weakened section suddenly gives way. Striking the exact surface supporting your weight instantly removes your stable foundation. When forceful blows break the tension of a suspended slab, the entire section gives way without warning. Relying on weakened concrete to remain stable while breaking its core creates a sudden drop. The floor disappears the moment the final crack connects. Stand firmly on an independent section before breaking nearby materials. Inside a cluttered storage basement, a worker sprints up a narrow, low-ceilinged staircase and makes contact with the overhead concrete edge. Navigating stairways with restricted headroom creates a severe impact hazard for anyone moving at high speed. When overhead clearance is minimal, the body's upward momentum makes it difficult to adjust posture in time to avoid rigid structural obstacles. The force of direct contact against solid concrete causes an immediate halt to movement. Paint high-contrast warning stripes on all low-hanging overhead edges. Mandate slow, deliberate movement when ascending staircases near structural obstructions. Deep inside a narrow storage aisle, a woman sweeps the floor beneath towering mountains of heavy sacks, seconds before a massive structural failure occurs. Stacking smooth bags into towering, unsupported columns creates an incredibly unstable gravity trap. Without interlocking patterns, these dense packages easily slide against one another. A minor vibration instantly disrupts the fragile balance of the entire wall. Gravity rapidly takes control, creating a fast outward movement of heavy material. This sudden structural failure quickly brings down the stacked load in a split second. Facility directors must securely wrap high inventory pallets to firmly secure loose merchandise. Personnel should always enforce a wide distance from precarious overhead storage zones, starting safely today. Inside a precast concrete yard, a reversing transport cart pushes massive slabs together, rapidly eliminating the narrow clearance between them. Positioning your body within narrow spaces surrounded by heavy materials brings an extreme risk of sudden entrapment. When machinery unexpectedly pushes loads, immense force transfers quickly through stationary objects, completely removing any safe clearance. This sudden shift turns a quiet gap into a rapidly closing hazard before there is enough time to react. Secure active tracks and firmly isolate all power sources before stepping into tight structural pathways. Block resting loads strongly to prevent unexpected sliding from external impacts. Always treat every single unsecured object near active transport lines as a severe shifting threat. In an active scrapyard, a worker balancing on a loaded truck bed heaves a large metal frame over the edge while standing completely inside it. Applying forceful momentum to any object surrounding your body immediately links your own weight to that moving mass. When you push a heavy structure outward while your feet rest within its borders, gravity quickly takes over. The shifting load forcefully pulls your exact center of balance beyond the safe ledge, leading to an uncontrolled fall. Verify your footing remains completely clear of materials before initiating any throw. Stand firmly on a stable surface beside the object rather than stepping into its center. Always maintain total physical control. Atop a demolition rubble pile, an excavator pulls against a brick wall until the loose foundation caves in and the machine tips sideways. Operating heavy equipment on loose debris creates a deeply false sense of solid support. When metal tracks rest on shattered materials, immense weight continuously shifts the hidden voids below. As the mechanical arm pulls against sturdy structures, the transferred force quickly compresses the weakened foundation. The ground simply gives way underneath, causing the entire cabin to roll unexpectedly. Clear away broken rubble completely to build a firm base for track placement. Inspect the underlying terrain closely before climbing elevated mounds. Inside a metal workshop, an open milling machine releases a heavy fragment outward at high speed directly through the unprotected access area. Running high-speed cutting tools without a closed barrier turns the surrounding area into a hazardous debris zone. When spinning metal breaks apart, powerful rotational force sends broken pieces outward. A solid shield is the primary protection designed to absorb that powerful mechanical energy. Leaving the access panel wide open removes your main protective barrier, allowing fast-moving debris to travel directly into the room at very high speed. Secure the heavy, thick enclosure tightly before starting any cycle. Inspect all shields for deep cracks that weaken impact resistance. Step far away from the direct opening path while machinery runs. Across a slick tiled patio, a loaded freestanding climbing frame loses traction at its base and suddenly slides backward. Ascending a temporary structure with occupied hands disrupts physical balance. Carrying heavy objects upward forces the support legs to lose steady contact with the smooth ground. Without free hands to securely grip the rungs, a minor wobble quickly turns into an unrecoverable fall. This sudden momentum sends the entire setup backward, striking the floor before you can safely release the burden. Keep both hands entirely empty to maintain a strong grip while climbing. Hoist materials upward using a secure rope only after reaching a steady platform. Anchor the base firmly to block unexpected shifts. Inside a commercial kitchen, pressure against the base of a heavily loaded cooling rack shifts its upper weight backward into a rapid collapse. Using bodily leverage to tilt top-heavy structures completely disrupts their physical balance. When pressure reaches the lower frame, while the massive upper weight shifts backward, gravity quickly takes control. The wheels lose their grounded support, forcing the heavy load to pivot rapidly. This sudden movement sends the towering metal rack to the floor, creating an immediate hazard for anyone nearby. Navigate uneven floors by installing smooth transition ramps instead of forcing wheels upward. On an exposed construction deck, freshly poured concrete overloads the temporary support grid until the entire surface breaks into the opening below. Adding physical weight to heavy wet cement over weak frames greatly increases the likelihood of structural failure. As the thick liquid presses down, fragile temporary supports stretch beyond their maximum design limits. Stepping onto this unstable surface quickly adds concentrated pressure to a severely strained web. The massive combined weight breaks through the weakened supports, pulling everything into the deep opening with very little warning. Inspect all structural bracing thoroughly before pouring any thick liquid mixtures. Spread wet materials from solid walkways rather than standing directly over incomplete hollow spans. Deep inside a metal workshop, a large brass plate breaks free from a high-speed lathe and launches across the surrounding work area. Securing large materials loosely within rapid rotational jaws transforms a standard cutting task into a sudden equipment failure. As the main clamp loses its tight grip, the immense stored kinetic energy quickly sends the solid mass across the room. This tremendous speed leaves very little time to react before the heavy metal travels outward, affecting anything along its path. Verify every grip is perfectly tight before initiating fast rotation. Position your body safely outside the direct throwing trajectory during active machine operation. Inspect all locking mechanisms carefully to guarantee they easily hold against intense force. At a quiet construction site, a suspended resting cloth pulls laterally against an unsecured cement mixer until the heavy machine tips over. Tying resting supports to movable equipment creates a deeply unstable imbalance. When human weight continuously pulls against an unanchored machine, the center of gravity shifts dangerously outward. The immense mechanical structure simply cannot resist the steady lateral tension. Soon, the entire heavy unit tips over, turning a makeshift resting spot into a serious impact hazard. Secure all hanging fabrics strictly to permanent, deeply rooted structural pillars. Treat every single portable machine as unpredictable under lateral stress. Always maintain complete physical separation between relaxation areas and heavy equipment. Inside a busy produce market, a man steers a tall pallet around a sharp curve, and within seconds, the load loses stability. Steering tall, unsecured freight through tight corners creates a sudden major gravity shift. As the manual cart angles through the turn, the towering stack quickly loses its center of mass. This rapid movement easily disrupts the fragile balance. Without binding straps, the heavy containers generate strong outward momentum. The massive pile quickly collapses in a split second, creating an immediate hazard for anyone standing directly within the fall zone. Anyone transporting goods must securely wrap high stacks to firmly lock them together. Inside an outdoor cafe undergoing renovations, a man balances atop a towering stepladder just as the unstable base shifts. Pushing a freestanding climbing frame beyond its intended height, limit disrupts vertical balance. When significant weight rests on a narrow foundation without solid support, the slightest movement transfers downward. This substantial force causes the base legs to slide completely. Such severe loss of stability quickly turns a climb into an unrecoverable fall. Gravity draws the heavy structure straight down, leaving little time to reach a stable support before contacting the ground. Anchor bottom grips firmly on flat ground before ascending elevated setups. Utilize specialized mechanical lifts instead of overextending portable frames for high-reach tasks. Inside an active automated vehicle wash, a driver steps out and leaves his rear door wide open just as the massive spinning brush rapidly advances. Leaving barriers extended directly into the path of advancing automated machinery creates an immediate damage hazard. When heavy rotational equipment catches exposed metal, the immense mechanical force overpowers standard hinges almost instantly. The relentless forward momentum grips the solid frame and bends it completely backward, causing substantial damage to the vehicle door. Automated systems operate with consistent force, affecting obstructions without hesitation. Secure all vehicle access points tightly before initiating any cleaning cycle. Remain entirely inside the cabin while massive equipment operates. Wait for total system shutdown before stepping onto wet floors. Inside the heavy steel plant, a technician observes the active rolling line, just as a bright surge of industrial energy suddenly releases across the floor. Working near immense industrial power channels brings constant threats of extreme heat and force. When internal containment fails, stored energy may escape rapidly, turning the immediate area into a hazardous work zone. This sudden release may send hot material and intense light outward at very high speed. Such a rapid equipment failure provides very little warning, easily overwhelming standard physical protection. Install robust shields around heavy industrial machinery to safely deflect sudden unexpected releases. Keep your physical presence far away from active processing lines during daily operations. Across a rugged construction route, a traveling loader enters deep, uneven ground, shifts beyond its balance point, and tips onto its side. Riding on the outside of moving machinery across uneven ground creates an extreme entrapment hazard. When equipment navigates deep ruts, the balance drastically changes. The wheels suddenly dip, pulling the immense weight completely off-center. As the massive steel frame falls onto its side, anyone holding the exterior can become caught beneath the equipment. Remain strictly inside the reinforced cabin during all equipment transport. Level rough pathways thoroughly before driving vehicles across loose soil. Shut access doors firmly to eliminate exterior handholds. Inside a busy transport yard, a turning articulated trailer sweeps inward toward a parked rig, rapidly closing the remaining side clearance. Long articulated vehicles drastically cut corners, pulling their heavy rear wheels tightly toward the inside path. Standing between active turn lanes and stationary objects creates a sudden pinch point. As the massive steel trailer pivots, the safe clearance disappears rapidly. This relentless sweeping motion forces immense weight directly into the solid boundary, turning a quiet standing spot into a dangerous hazard zone. Along a nighttime transport route, wide cargo extends into the opposing lane until an oncoming truck strikes the exposed, overhanging edge. Allowing wide materials to cross into active traffic lanes creates a serious impact hazard. When a passing vehicle contacts a protruding edge, immense kinetic energy transfers rapidly into the resting cargo. This sudden force breaks securing straps and pushes the massive load completely off the deck. The uncontrolled weight quickly transforms the adjacent roadside into a hazardous area, creating a significant danger for anyone standing nearby. Halt opposing traffic completely before hauling exceptionally wide structures through narrow urban routes. Keep vast physical distance from the immediate perimeter of oversized transports. Inside the active smelting plant, an operator steps past a security fence to sweep the floor, just as the heavy automated equipment begins to cycle again. Entering the operational radius of programmed systems creates a severe impact hazard. When heavy structures execute routine paths, they move with sudden speed and immense force. These solid units can detect unexpected human presence within their operating boundaries. This continuous motion can trap anyone between the swinging equipment and stationary rails. Lock physical gates securely to block entry during active processing. Disconnect main power feeds completely before wiping down enclosed areas. Paint bright floor boundaries to firmly isolate safe paths from wide mechanical reach. Above a steep retaining wall, 2 mobile cranes suspend a heavy excavator until uneven loading causes one extended boom to buckle. Pushing heavy lifting equipment beyond its designed structural capacity causes sudden mechanical failure. When immense weight shifts unevenly between 2 lifting points, a single arm absorbs extreme downward stress. The solid metal frame simply cannot support this concentrated pressure. The extended boom gives way, allowing the suspended load to descend into the area below. Calculate the exact load distributions carefully before attempting any dual lifting operation. Keep heavy machinery movement strictly within documented limits always. Outside a residential roofline, an individual works while balancing on a high rung, just as the unstable base slips backward. Applying strong horizontal force while elevated completely disrupts vertical balance. When significant physical pulling shifts weight away from the support structure, downward pressure holding the feet decreases drastically. Without strong traction, backward momentum easily overcomes surface friction on slick ground. This rapid shift causes the entire metal frame to slide away unexpectedly. The fall brings the person directly onto the equipment, leaving very little opportunity to reach a stable support before contacting the ground. Anchor climbing structures firmly into stable ground before starting heavy tension tasks. Inside a busy recycling center, a heavy loader advances through scattered debris with its forward travel path obscured by a raised bucket. Operating heavy machinery within active pedestrian zones creates an immediate collision hazard. When large front buckets scoop dense materials, the driver's forward visibility becomes severely restricted. The massive steel vehicle travels with immense energy, unable to stop quickly upon encountering unexpected obstacles. Blending foot traffic with aggressive mechanical operations greatly increases the risk of serious collisions. Establish strict physical boundaries to separate walking paths entirely from active sorting floors. High above a busy structural framework, a heavy metal bar suddenly slips from its far edge, falling straight toward the work area below. Leaving long materials unsecured at elevated heights creates a severe falling object hazard. When a resting rod loses friction on one side, gravity quickly takes control of the shifting balance. The solid mass accelerates rapidly downward, transforming basic building supplies into dangerous falling objects. This rapid, uncontrolled descent generates immense kinetic energy, affecting objects below with significant force before evasive action is possible. Clamp all loose components firmly to solid support frames during overhead tasks. Beside a busy highway, a speeding vehicle breaks through a temporary roadside barrier and falls into an open inspection shaft. Working in open excavations near fast traffic creates a major collision hazard. When speeding vehicles lose control, standard metal fences offer very little resistance against the impact. The immense weight easily breaks through temporary boundaries, turning quiet workspaces into hazardous zones. Gravity quickly pulls the heavy vehicle straight into the open excavation, placing anyone inside at immediate risk with very little time to react. Install thick concrete blocks along roadside edges to safely absorb major impacts. Position heavy machinery as a physical shield between active lanes and fragile trenches. Inside a tight loading dock, A reversing truck moves beneath a low concrete beam until the vertical clearance becomes a closing pinch point. Reversing massive vehicles beneath low structures creates a severe pinch point hazard. When heavy machinery moves backward into confined ceiling spaces, the vertical gap shrinks rapidly. Human reaction speed simply cannot outpace advancing solid steel. Misjudging clearance limits leaves the body completely exposed to extreme mechanical pressure. The continuous backward movement can leave anyone caught between the moving truck and rigid overhead structures under tremendous force. Establish strict physical boundaries, keeping individuals far away from backing transports. Always step entirely outside active driving paths rather than crouching underneath moving equipment. Install highly visible rigid height clearance warning bars. Inside a cluttered garage, a person talks on her phone while perched atop an aluminum stepladder just as her shifting weight breaks stability. Dividing mental attention while elevated removes your primary balance control. When phone conversations distract your focus from immediate physical surroundings, your spatial awareness decreases significantly. The body relies on constant mental feedback to maintain upright posture on narrow steps. Without this focus, a minor adjustment shifts the center of gravity completely outside the support base. Gravity quickly takes over, pulling the unsupported weight downward and resulting in a sudden fall to the floor. To keep learning from these important workplace safety lessons, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay aware, stay safe.